Good morning. So in the last class we have discussed about different transistor connections, in which we have discussed common emitter, common base, common collector configurations, and we have seen the common emitter characteristics. So here gives the table which explains which gives you the comparison between three configuration: common emitter, common base and common collector. So we haven't gone into detail of these current gain, voltage gain, power gain, input and output resistance, etc. Because these are out of your syllabus. So we can just understand what are the difference in the values in these three connections. Okay, so you can just go through this table. So if you look at this table, you can see that the current, voltage, power gain and the input and output resistance are large in common emitter configuration, and in common base this is almost unity. Current gain is almost unity, and voltage and power gain is very large. The input resistance is small, but the output resistance is very large. The common collector configuration, but the current gain is large, voltage gain is almost unity, power gain is small, and input resistance large and output resistance small. So these are reverse in these two connections, input and output resistance. Okay, so you can just look at the table for a comparison. So the advantages of common emitter configurations are listed here. So mostly we are using the common emitter configuration when we are using a transistor in a circuit. This is because of this several advantages of this connection. The first one is it has large current gain, which we have seen in the table now. So current gain, voltage gain and power gain is very large in common emitter configuration, and also it has a moderate value of input and output resistances. So and the third point is the output resistance is comparatively large, so that it matches with the input resistance of the load. Hence there will be maximum power transfer between the transistor circuit and the load. So it offers perfect impedance matching in circuits. So mostly common emitter configurations are used in transistor circuits. So these are the reasons for using this, that is high current, voltage and power gain, and also comparatively large output resistance, so that it matches with the input resistance of the load. And this is needed because it gives you a perfect impedance matching between the circuit. Okay. So amplifier. An amplifier circuit is an electronic circuit that is used to amplify or increase the strength of input parameter. The input parameter may be current, voltage or power. Correspondingly, the amplifiers are called current amplifier, voltage amplifier or power amplifier. Most amplifiers use transistors for their action. So the word amplification is familiar to you, so you know what is an amplifier. So amplifier is a device which is used to strengthen a signal or some parameter of the input signal. It may be current or voltage or power. So according to that, we can name the amplifier as current amplifier, voltage amplifier or power amplifier, and the process can be known as current amplification, voltage amplification and power amplification. Okay, so we can see the transistor amplifier which is used in common emitter configuration. So we have seen mostly we are using common emitter configuration. So The transistor common emitter configuration used as transistor amplifier is used here. This is the basic circuit. This is the transistor and this is the emitter, and emitter is made common to both base and collector. So this is common emitter configuration, and this is base, and we have given the input signal through a variable capacitor to the base terminal. And here is two resistors R1 and R2 connected in series. Here there is a connection, and this is the collector resistance. Okay, and this is the capacitor, collector capacitor, that is why suffix CC. So there's a collector components are suffixed with C, RC, IC, CC. Okay, so the emitter components are suffixed with the letter E. Emitter resistance, the emitter connected between the resistor connected between emitter and earth, and this is variable capacitor, which is CE. Okay, so we are giving the input signal here, and we are taking the output signal across this output terminals. Okay, this capacitor and the load. So this capacitor, output terminal and the ground. So we are getting an amplified signal at the output. Okay, so here you can see the input signal, and here we get output signal. You can see that this is the input signal, this is the output. This is amplified, but it is inverted. So usually the transistor output is inverted output. Okay, this can understand only if you go in detail to the theory of this amplification process. Okay, so this is the common connection. Now the circuit. We have already explained the circuit. A transistor amplifier usually uses this common emitter configuration. The resistance R1, R2, RC and RE form the voltage divider biasing circuit that provides the necessary biasing so that the transistor always has the base emitter junction forward biased and the base collector junction reverse biased. If any AC current passes through the emitter resistance, then it will affect the biasing. Also, a part of the output signal will be feedback to the input across the emitter resistor, and this acts as a negative feedback. So no AC signal should pass through the emitter. For this, the capacitor C is connected parallel to the emitter resistor. The capacitor blocks DC but bypasses AC. Hence no AC flows through the emitter resistor. If the input signal source has a DC component, it flows through the base emitter junction, and this will affect the biasing. So to prevent the input DC from affecting the biasing conditions, the input capacitor C1 is used. Similarly, to prevent the DC conditions of the amplifier from reaching the output load, an output capacitor CO is used. So we can go back to this picture. So here is the picture. So this is emitter resistance. So if an input signal, so if a part of the signal is going back to this input, this will be known as feedback. That is, a part of this signal is getting back to this input signal, and which is known as feedback, feeding back to the input. That's why that name. So in order to prevent that, we are using a capacitor here. So capacitor is connected between this emitter and this ground. So what happens is, all the AC component of this emitter current is bypassed by this capacitor. Okay, so no input signal, part of no component of AC is getting feedback to this input. So in order for this purpose, we are using a capacitor here. Okay, so it allows only DC. Now AC components will be allowed. It will bypass through this C. Okay, similarly the emitter base junction should be always forward biased, and this we can see here yeah. If the input signal source has a DC component, it flows through the base emitter junction, and this will affect the biasing. So to prevent the input DC from affecting the biasing condition, the input capacitor C1 is used. That is, suppose that this is the base emitter junction. This should be always forward bias. So if there is any DC component in this input signal, it will affect this forward biasing of this base emitter junction. So in order to prevent this, we are using a capacitor here. So what does this capacitor? This capacitor filter out all the DC components, because capacitor blocks all the DC. It allows only AC. So if you are using a capacitor here, it will allow all the AC component to pass through it, but blocks the DC components, and so that it keep the emitter base junction forward biased always without any disturbances. So we are discussing now the functions of this capacitor. Okay, I will explain once more. And the third capacitor is collector capacitor. Similarly, to prevent the DC conditions of the amplifier from reaching the output load, an output capacitor CO is used. Okay, and similar purpose, and for a similar purpose, here we are using a CC collector circuit, because we are taking the output between this terminal and this terminal. So we need the amplified signal. So in order to bypass the DC component of this output signal, we are using capacitor here. So it bypasses only AC components here. Okay, so the amplification taking here, and we are getting an amplified signal without any DC component here between these two terminals. So R1, R2, RC and RE gives the voltage divider arrangement. The input voltage is divided between the common emitter base junction and base emitter base collector junction. So this gives this R1, R2, RC and RE gives that arrangement, and this couple and that's why we are using these resistors. And I'm explaining the circuit again. Okay, so the purpose of this R1, R2 and this series resistors are for voltage divider arrangement, for voltage dividing arrangement. And this is the input signal. We are giving the signal which need to be amplified, and we have used 3 capacitors here in addition. So the functions of these capacitors are the emitter base junction should be always forward biased, and any component of DC in the input signal will affect this biasing of this junction. So these DC components need to be filtered out, so that we are using a capacitor here. So capacitor will block all the DC components from this input signal, and it allows only AC signal, so that condition is achieved, and that's why we are using a capacitor C1 here. Okay, and the capacitor here CE, if there is any DC component, the emitter current, this is the direction of the emitter current, that will go back to this input. Okay, this input region. So what happens is, it will again it will act as a feedback, that is this signal, but in addition, and a DC should be a DC will be added to this input, so that will act as a feedback. So in order to prevent that, we are using a capacitor here. So what happens is this will block the DC and allows only AC. That means that will bypass the AC component to this AC component here. Sorry, I was talking as DC and DC here, not DC, AC, because any component in any AC component in the emitter current will act as a feedback to this input, that will bypassed by the capacitor. So capacitor allows only AC, so that's why we are using a capacitor here. So any AC component in the emitter current will be bypassed through this capacitor. Also, any DC component of the output signal is filtered out by this capacitor, so we will get output only AC component, and the amplification process taking here by this transistor, the function of the transistor is to amplify the signal, so we are getting an amplified output. Okay, and so these are the functions of the components used in the circuit, and we can look at the working. Before any input is given, DC flows through the circuit due to the biasing. The input signal, which is sinusoidal is given to the base. This alters the base emitter voltage and hence the base current. This change in base current causes a change in emitter current, and hence there is a corresponding change in the collector current. Since the collector resistance is usually of very large value, a change in collector current will cause a much larger change in the voltage across the collector resistance. The equation connecting the collector current and the collector emitter voltage is VCC is equal to VCE plus IC RC. So a small change in IC will cause a very large change in voltage across the collector resistance, or across the collector resistance, since RC is very large. Since VCC is a constant, there will be a corresponding change in VCE. The output is taken across the collector emitter junction. So how it is working? So we are giving an input signal at the base. So the input is feeding through the input, and if we are not giving the input signal, so before giving the input signal, the emitter base junction is forward biased, and DC is flowing through this circuit, okay, due to biasing. And if we are feeding the input signal, which is sinusoidal in nature, so its polarity changes alternately, positive and negative half cycle will come. So this will alter the base emitter voltage, because polarity changes, positive, negative, positive, negative. So the base emitter voltage changes, and hence the base current changes. Okay, so this change in base current causes a change in emitter, and hence there is a corresponding change in the collector current. Okay, so what happens is this emitter base voltage changes, so this changes the emitter current and hence the collector current. Okay, since the collector resistance is usually of very large value, a change in collector current will cause a much larger change in the voltage across the collector resistance. So this is the collector resistance. So a change in collector current means it will give you a large voltage drop across this RC, because we are usually using a large RC at the collector, or large resistor at the output. The equation connecting the collector current and the collector emitter voltage is VCC is equal to, VCC is the collector voltage VCC is equal to VCE. VCE is the voltage between the collector and emitter. VCC is equal to VCE plus ICRC. ICRC means voltage drop across this. So this is VCC and VCC is equal to VCE plus ICRC. Okay. So this is the equation. So a small change in IC will cause a very large change in the voltage across the collector since resistance RC is very large. So you can see from this equation. Okay, so a small change in IC will give you a large value of VCC because RC is very large. So the voltage drop across that RC will give you a large value of voltage. Since VCC is constant, so VCC is the voltage we are supplying to this circuit, so it is a constant. There will be a corresponding change in VCE. So the output is taken across the collector emitter junction. Okay. So VCC is the voltage that we are supplying at the collector junction, collector terminal. So it is constant. It is constant means if a change occurring to this term, a change must be occurring to this term in order to keep this VCC constant. Okay, so a small change in IC will produce a large voltage drop across RC since RC is very large. So this change also produce a change in VCE. Okay, and we are taking the output across the collector emitter junction. So what will be the output signal? The output signal will be amplified in voltage but 180 degree out of phase with the input. This can be explained as follows. Since an increase in input signal causes an increase in base current, this will cause increase in the emitter and collector currents. This causes a large increase in the value of ICRC. So that is we are giving, I have already said you that the output signal is amplified but will be 180 degree out of phase. So here it is the explanation. Since an increase in the input signal, so we are giving input signal at the base terminal. So if we are increasing the input signal, it will causes an increase in the base current. So the input signal increases means the input current, that is the base current, increases. So this will cause an increase in the emitter and collector currents. So input current increase means it will increase the emitter and collector current. Okay, this causes a large increase in the value of ICRC. This again, so IC increases. That is a collector current. So IC increases means it's again changes or increases the value of ICRC because we are using a large value of RC. So the voltage drop across this RC will be high. Okay. However, VCC is equal to VCE plus ICRC, which we have seen just before, where VCC is a constant. Hence, the increase in ICRC will cause a corresponding decrease in VCE. So, ICRC increasing means ICRC increasing means VCE decreasing because this is a constant. So, in order to keep this constant, increasing this value should decrease this value. Okay. Since the output is taken across the collector emitter junction, there will be a decrease in the output voltage. Thus, when the input signal increases, the output voltage decreases and vice versa. Hence, there is a 180 degree phase difference between the input and output signal. So, this means when the positive input signal comes, it will give you a negative signal at the output, and if a negative input signal comes, it gives you the positive output signal at the output. That's why it is getting inverted. So if we are giving a cycle like this, wave like this, we are getting a wave opposite to that at the output. Okay, and because we are measuring the voltage across collector and emitter point. Okay. So this is how the voltage amplification taking place. This is the voltage amplifier. And the parameters of an amplifier: voltage gain. The amplifier amplifies a signal and causes an increase in the voltage value of the input signal. The quality of an amplifier is measured in terms of how much it can amplify a given input signal. This is given in terms of voltage gain. The voltage gain of an amplifier is defined as the ratio of the output voltage to the input voltage. This is given by AV, means gain is represented by the letter A and I is suffixed because this is voltage gain, and this is the ratio of output voltage VO by input voltage Vin. Okay, the good amplifier is one having a large value of voltage gain. So voltage gain means the ratio of the output voltage to the input voltage. So a good amplifier means it's having a large value of voltage gain. So an amplifier can be said to be good if how much it can amplify the given input signal. So we can measure it in terms of voltage gain. And here gives you the frequency response curve. So the voltage gain of an amplifier is the ratio of the output voltage to the input voltage. It depends on the frequency of the input voltage. Usually the voltage gain of an amplifier changes with the frequency of the input signal. The relation between the voltage gain and the input frequency is termed as the frequency response of the amplifier. The graph plotted between the input frequency and the voltage gain is called the frequency response curve of the amplifier. For a typical amplifier, the frequency response curve is shown. That is, the voltage gain of an amplifier depends on the frequency of the input signal. So it varies with the frequency of the input signal. So the relation between the frequency of the input signal and the voltage gain can be represented as a graph. That is, the x-axis give you the frequency of the input signal and the y-axis as voltage gain. So this graph is taken by constructing an amplifier, and we are changing the frequency of the input signal, and we are measuring the voltage gain in for each value of input signal, and we are plotting this value. We will get a graph like this. Okay, so this curve is known as frequency response curve. That is, the voltage gain is changing in response to the input frequency of the signal. So as the you can see from this graph that as the frequency of the input signal increases from low values, the voltage gain also increases. So you can see from this curve that as the input signal increases from low value, so this is low value, as it is increases, the voltage gain also increases. Okay, above a definite frequency, the gain becomes constant. Okay, so as long as the input frequency increases, the voltage gain also increases, and at some point it becomes constant, and for some region, and if we are again increase the frequency for a period, it will remain constant. Okay. However, at a high frequencies, then if you are increasing the frequency again, the gain goes decreasing. Okay, so that's what we can see from this graph. The frequencies at which the voltage gain becomes 1 by root times the maximum value are called the upper and lower cutoff frequency. So here it have shown in this picture, that is, this is the maximum value of voltage gain. So the value of the frequency, that is the frequency at which the gain becomes 1 by root times the maximum value, that is this is the maximum value of the voltage gain. So we are noting the voltage gain corresponding to this maximum value, and we are taking we are multiplying this value with 1 by root 2. Okay, so we will get a value corresponding to somewhere here. So if we are drawing a line to here, here and dropping down this line to this frequency line, so we will get a frequency corresponding to this and this. Okay, that's what we mean. So the frequencies at which voltage gain becomes 1 by root times the maximal is called upper and lower cutoff frequency. So this upper value is known as upper cutoff frequency and this is known as lower cutoff frequency. So this is designated as FL and this is FH, H in the sense high. Okay, so the difference in these two values will give you the bandwidth of the amplifier. So this difference of this frequency will give you, this is known as bandwidth of the amplifier. The bandwidth gives the frequency range over which the voltage gain of the amplifier is constant and independent of the frequency of the input signal. The larger the bandwidth of the amplifier, the better is its quality. So over this bandwidth, the voltage gain is almost constant and the amplifier is stable in this region. Okay. So better the larger the bandwidth, the better will be the quality of that amplifier. So that's about frequency response curve. Now we can know what is feedback. So when an input is given to an electronic circuit, an output is produced. This is quite general. When a part of the output is returned to the input so that the value of the input is affected, the process is called feedback. If the portion of the output that is fed back is in phase with the input so that the input strength increases, it is called positive feedback. If the portion of the output that is fed back is out of phase with the input so that the input strength decreases, it is called negative feedback. A circuit that produces feedback in another circuit is called a feedback circuit. So what is feedback? So let's go back to this picture so that I can explain. So this is the input signal. So if a part of this output signal is feeding back to this input signal, this is known as so that what will happen, the value of the input will be affected. That is, already we have a signal and to that we are adding some signal from the output also. So this will be added with some signal from the output. So this is feedback from the output. So this is the feedback concept, general feedback concept. And there are two types of feedback, positive feedback and negative feedback. And what is positive feedback? Here you can see the signal is like this. Okay, this like this. So if you are giving the output signal in phase with this signal, so what we get, it will be positive feedback. That is, the signal get enhanced by the feeding back signal. So this is for positive feedback. And if we are giving a signal in opposite phase to the signal, what will happen? The signal's strength will be reduced. Okay, so that is known as negative feedback. So this feedback are of two types, positive and negative feedback. Okay, so feedback, so we can generally discuss this feedback concept. An electronic circuit always produces an output in some form and receives input from the power supply or from a signal generator. A part of the output energy in a circuit can be given back to the input of the circuit so to modify the working of the circuit. This process of returning the portion of the output of a circuit back to its input is called feedback. We have already explained this. A circuit that acts to return a portion of output energy of a circuit back to its input is called a feedback circuit. So if we are designing the circuit such that we are feeding back some portion of the output back to the input, then such circuit is known as feedback circuit. The ratio of the amount of output energy fed back to the original output is called the feedback fraction. Okay. If the feedback energy is in phase with the input energy so that it adds to the input, this is called positive feedback. And if it is vice versa, then it is called negative feedback. So we have already explained this just before. So the ratio of amount of the output energy feedback to the original output is called the feedback fraction. So how much energy from the output is feeding back to this input, that ratio will give you the feedback fraction. So here gives the feedback circuit. So this is the electronic circuit, this is output, a portion of this feeding back to this input. So this is feedback. Okay, now we'll briefly explain the oscillators. So with this we will conclude this module. So an oscillator is an electronic circuit. We won't conclude this module. This is the end portion of this transistor portion. Okay, oscillators. An oscillator is an electronic circuit that produces electrical oscillations. So you know what is oscillations. It works on the basis of positive feedback. An electronic oscillator circuit usually consists of a tank circuit, an amplifier circuit, and a feedback circuit. The tank circuit is an electronic circuit that produces electrical oscillations. The output from a tank circuit is usually very small and damped. To strengthen the oscillations, the output from the tank circuit is given to an amplifier circuit, which amplifies the signal. Since the signal is damped, the feedback circuit that produces positive feedback and supplies energy to compensate for the energy loss due to damping is used. Thus, sustained electrical oscillations are obtained. So, we are not going a detailed discussions of this topic. I have chosen your university textbook for this topic because these topics are explained in brief in this book. Otherwise, it will be difficult for you if you are going with the VK method, because there are a lot of things discussing in that textbook. That's why I chose this textbook for this particular portions. Okay, for this amplifier topic. Okay, so we can see what is oscillator. An oscillator is an electronic circuit that produces electrical oscillations, and it works on the basis of positive feedback. So we have seen what is positive feedback. So oscillator works on the principle of positive feedback. So an electronic oscillator circuit usually consists of so this oscillator circuit mainly have a tank circuit, an amplifier circuit, and a feedback circuit. So you have already seen what is an amplifier circuit and a feedback circuit. So the thing which is unfamiliar to you is tank circuit. So the tank circuit is an electronic circuit that produces electrical oscillation. So this is oscillator. So we need a device which produces oscillation. So tank circuit is that device which produce the circuit which produce oscillations. So these three constitute an oscillator. The output from the tank circuit is usually very small and damped. So the tank circuit is used for oscillations, to produce oscillation, but it is always very small and it is damping in nature. Damping means its oscillations diminishes as the time passes by. Okay. So to strengthen this oscillation, the output from the tank circuit is given to an amplifier circuit which amplifies the signal. Since the signal is damped, the feedback circuit that produces positive feedback and supplies energy to compensate for the energy losses due to damping is used. So sustained oscillations are used. So how it is working? The tank circuit is producing oscillations. Okay. Tank circuit producing small and damped oscillation. These small oscillations can be strengthened by using the amplifier circuit. So because amplifier amplifies the signal, and feedback circuit, and the feedback circuit uses strengthen the signal and which compensate the damping, so that we are getting a sustained amplified or large signal or sustained oscillations at the output. So these three circuits, tank circuits, amplifier circuit, and feedback circuit, constitute the oscillator. And we can know what is Barkhausen condition. If in positive feedback, the fraction of the output that is fed back is called the feedback fraction. The condition for an electronic amplifier circuit to work as an oscillator is given by the relation. Here M is the positive AV is the voltage and the condition is called sorry, this relation is not clear from this. Not clear from this. So Barkhausen condition I will explain to you by referring another textbook, because this relation is not clear from this picture. Okay, so this is about transistor amplifiers. So we have discussed today common emitter transistor amplifier. It's a circuit designing and it's working, and it's some parameters connected with this amplifier, and next feedback amplifier, positive and negative feedback amplifier, and oscillators. Okay, that's all for today's class, and we are concluding the topic transistors here. We will begin next topic in the next class. Okay, thank you.